The hall of the Interstellar Arts Institute stood quiet in the early morning light. Soft beams from the twin suns outside fell across polished metal floors that glowed faintly with embedded circuits. In the center of the great hall rested a strange object, half instrument and half alien relic. Teachers from across human space had gathered there. They wore long coats with thin glowing lines that pulsed with recorded data from decades of music research. They had come to test a girl who claimed she wanted to enroll early. They doubted she had any real skill. Many young applicants exaggerated because they dreamed of joining the institute, but very few were ever accepted. Today, they expected just another hopeful student who would try, fail, and leave quietly. Her name was Lena. She stepped into the hall with calm eyes, hands clasped behind her back, and a steady breath. She wore simple clothes with no marks or patterns. At first glance, she seemed ordinary. That impression pleased her because she wanted no attention. Yet the teachers standing around the hall sensed something in her posture. She walked like someone who had memorized every beat of her footsteps. The head teacher, a tall man named Ralden, cleared his throat. He had trained hundreds of musicians, but had never found a true prodigy. He believed skill came from long practice and nothing else. He disliked stories of natural genius. In his view, talent was just disciplined memory. He gestured to the strange piano in the center. It was a hybrid instrument found in an abandoned alien station decades earlier. Humans had adopted it into advanced training because it was notoriously difficult to play. The keys were arranged in spiral tiers that twisted around the main platform. The sound system was based on resonance patterns that shifted unpredictably. Unless the player struck each key at the exact angle and speed required, Ralden looked at Lena with a controlled smile and said she would perform a test piece. Many had attempted, but none had completed. He explained that the piece was considered unplayable by humans. Even the alien race that had created the instrument considered it a special challenge only their most advanced performers could attempt. Ralden had tested dozens of students before her. None had made it past the fourth phase of the piece. Lena nodded once. She asked only to hear the hall's acoustics. Ralden raised a brow. He clapped his hands. The wall panels opened and spread thin membranes that acted as sound reflectors. The hall responded with a soft echo that swept around the space like a whisper. Lena listened with eyes half closed. She said the hall was stable and predictable, which pleased her. The other teachers exchanged amused looks. They assumed she was pretending to understand more than she did. Ralden gestured her forward. Lena climbed onto the raised platform and sat at the alien piano. Her fingers hovered above the spiral keys. She did not touch them. Instead, she let her hands drift lightly, matching her breathing to a rhythm she felt rather than heard. Ralden announced she had one attempt. If she stopped or broke the sequence, the test would end. Lena nodded again. She placed her first finger on the lower ring of keys. The instant she touched the surface, the instrument responded with a shimmering chord that rose in two different directions like branches of light. The teachers leaned forward. They had expected a hesitant beginning. Instead, Lena produced a perfectly controlled tone. She began the piece. At first, the hall filled with soft notes that rose and fell in a controlled pattern. Every teacher recognized this introduction. It was the first phase, considered easy compared to what followed. Lena's hands moved calmly across the lower rings, never hitting a key too soon or too late. Her posture stayed relaxed. Ralden watched her expression closely. He saw no strain. Many students showed nervous excitement when they played. Lena looked like someone walking in a familiar forest. Within minutes, she reached the second phase. Here the piece grew complex. The keys shifted position due to the alien design. Most students panicked here, because they had to adjust their movements instantly. Teachers stood ready to witness her make the same mistake countless others had made. Instead, they saw her hand pause for a fraction of a second. She tilted her wrist, recalculated the new layout, and struck the next key with flawless timing. The piano responded by forming dual harmonic tones that weaved together like shimmering threads. The teachers whispered. Ralden lifted his hand for silence. Lena continued with smooth focus. Her breathing remained steady. Her shoulders relaxed. The hall filled with sounds that rose like fountains of silver and sank like deep glowing rivers. Human ears were not used to the full range of the alien instrument. Yet the more Lena played, the more the teachers realized she understood the structure of the piece in a way they could not explain by the time she reached the third phase. Her fingers moved so quickly that some teachers lost track of individual notes. The instrument produced shifting waves that mimicked wind, water, and distant thunder. One younger teacher felt a shiver run along her spine. She whispered that Lena was synchronizing with the instrument's reactive circuits. No human had done that before. The circuits were known to shift rhythm patterns in unpredictable ways. Yet Lena played as if she knew each shift before it happened, and she reached the fourth phase. This was the point at which every human student had failed. The keys rotated rapidly, forming new patterns that required the player to adjust both hands in two separate rhythms. The alien composers had created this section as a test of total sensory awareness. Ralden waited for Lena's first mistake. He watched her left hand speed up and her right hand slow down. He watched her drop her shoulders slightly to loosen her spine. Then he watched something astonishing. She smiled. Her fingers accelerated. The keys spun faster. The resonance system began to glow with a pale blue light. Teachers gasped as the entire instrument responded to her command. Waves of sound burst through the hall. Patterns of luminous sound rippled through the air. Lena adapted to each shift without hesitation. She seemed to anticipate the changes before the keys even moved. The hall vibrated gently. The thin membranes opened earlier now shimmered like liquid mirrors. Ralden felt something he rarely experienced. A sense of awe. He had seen talented students before. He had seen disciplined players who practiced relentlessly. But Lena was different. She was not fighting the instrument. She was not enduring the challenge. She was in complete harmony with it. She crossed the fourth phase. Without a single flawed note . No human had ever done that . Now she entered the fifth and final phase. Ralden had never seen this phase performed. He had read alien journals describing it as the moment when the performer and the instrument reached full resonance alignment. Even the alien race had trouble achieving this. The phase required the player to strike certain keys with such precise angles that the underlying circuits responded with dynamic energy flows. The hall dimmed as the piano's core activated. The glowing lines beneath the floor brightened. Lena's breathing slowed further. She lifted both hands above the spiral keys. Then she played the final sequence. The sound that followed was unlike anything the teachers had imagined. The instrument produced tones that felt like soft winds passing through crystal forests. Low notes pressed gently on the chest. High notes shimmered with the brightness of distant stars. The hall seemed to vanish as the music expanded beyond it. Teachers stood frozen. Ralden felt tears rising from a place inside him he had not opened in years. Lena finished the final note. The hall fell silent. She sat quietly with her hands resting on her lap. She did not bow. She did not ask how she had performed. She looked at the teachers with steady eyes. Ralden approached slowly. He asked how long she had trained. Lena answered calmly that she did not train the way others did. She said she listened to sounds around her since she was very young. She heard patterns in everything. Machines, engines, footsteps, wind, and the hum of starships. She understood rhythm as a natural language. She explained that the alien piano was not a mystery to her. Its tones matched patterns she already knew. She said the instrument simply wanted to be understood. The teachers remained silent. They struggled to process what she had said. Ralden felt a strange mix of disbelief and admiration. He asked her to play the introduction again so they could analyze her technique. Lena nodded and played it slowly this time. Ralden watched her finger placement carefully. He realized she was striking the keys with angles that compensated for the instrument's internal shifts. No human instructor had ever taught this because the angle shifts were thought to be uncontrollable. Yet she had solved the mystery on instinct. The younger teachers began murmuring. They spoke about offering her an instant place at the institute. They spoke about revising their research models based on her performance. Lena listened politely. She said she wanted only a chance to learn more. She said she believed humans could reach new levels of music across the galaxy if they stopped fearing instruments that seemed impossible. Ralden raised his hand and asked the others to give him a moment. He stepped forward and faced Lena directly. He said she had passed the test with complete mastery. He said she had achieved something no human or alien musician had done in recorded history. He declared she would be welcomed into the institute immediately. Then he bowed to her. The hall filled with astonished silence. Lena bowed in return. The moment felt like the start of something that would spread far beyond the walls of the institute. The teachers sensed this too. They understood they were witnessing the rise of someone who would change this foundation of music across the human worlds. In the days that followed, the institute recorded Lena's performance and shared it across multiple star systems. Musicians from distant colonies watched in awe. Some doubted the recording was real. Others felt inspired. Many attempted the piece themselves after slowing down her recording. None succeeded. Still, her performance spread as a symbol of what humans could achieve when they combined courage, instinct, and curiosity. Lena spent her first weeks at the institute learning about different cultures and their music traditions. Teachers from distant colonies visited her classes to observe her learning methods. She showed them techniques she used to understand rhythm. She explained how she broke down patterns by listening to the core sound instead of the surface tone. For many instructors, it changed their teaching approach entirely. Her ability reached new levels when she began interacting with alien musicians from visiting fleets. They played instruments unknown to humans. Lena listened to them quietly with bright curiosity. She learned their rhythms within days. She returned to the alien piano one evening and played a piece combining human harmony with alien resonance. The Institute declared it the first hybrid composition created by a human. Her reputation spread even further. Her influence inspired a new wave of musical research. Scientists and cultural experts visited her. They analyzed her brain patterns as she listened to recordings. They found she processed sound differently from most humans. Her focus centered on micro-vibrations rather than full tones. She sensed patterns hidden inside the structure of sound itself. Ralden stayed by her side through her early studies. He learned from her as much as she learned from him. He taught her discipline, and she taught him openness. Together, they built new methods of music training that allowed other students to reach higher potential. Years later, the alien piano remained in the hall as a symbol of human dedication. Many tried to play the piece, and although no one matched Lena's first performance, several students began reaching the fourth phase. For the Institute, this was a sign of progress. They knew they owed this growth to the girl, who had once walked in with calm steps and changed everything. Lina continued practicing each day. She still believed there was more to discover. Each new sound taught her something. Each new rhythm opened another doorway. She saw music not as a series of notes, but as a map of the universe, One quiet evening, she stood alone before the alien piano. She placed her hand on the first key and listened. She felt the vibrations. She felt the hall breathe with her. She smiled again. She knew her journey had only begun. The universe was full of music waiting to be understood, and she intended to understand it all.